So if you guys don't know, Charlie is a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers. He runs a catalog of about 45 niche YouTube channels.
My parents really wanted me to go to med school, and I applied to medical school. Applied to like 20 different schools, didn't end up getting into any. I failed many times. I failed many businesses. I think people that are scared of rejection, they just need to get rejected enough times. If you're not hiring overseas, then you're wasting money and you're slowing the growth of your company, because when done right, it is like a superpower.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to OpsTalk with Paired, the podcast where we dive deep into how businesses run behind the scenes. I'm your host, Martin, and today we're talking all things operations, staffing, and strategy with Charlie Chang. Charlie, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
So if you guys don't know, Charlie is a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers. He runs a catalog of about 45 niche YouTube channels, and he's also the co-CEO of Paired Recruiting. The reason I'm excited to talk to Charlie today is because he runs a team of about 65 people from all over the world, with his businesses doing about 4 million per year revenue. He's also an expert at building high profit margin businesses, so there should be plenty of lessons to learn in this one. And Charlie, I really just want to start out with, how did you get into working for yourself, into building businesses?
Yeah, so I think early on, my first memory of doing some type of business or making money was selling lemonade when I was like, 10 years old. After that, I started selling candy in middle school. I ran like a whole operation for my locker, had a bodyguard, I paid them candy, would buy candy bars from Costco and sell them. I think they were like 33 cents each for the bulk package, and then I sold them 50 cents. Made my first $25 that way. So I guess it wasn't really big operation, but made some money. And then after that, I started flipping things online, did like video and photography. Yeah, just a bunch of random stuff. And I think that's sort of how I started making money for myself. Yeah, those are the early days.
Understood. Yeah, this is one of those classic stories. You hear this with a lot of different big creators, big entrepreneurs like Gary Vee as well, right? Starting as early as you can, the lemonade stand. Did you have any aspirations for a traditional career? Did you go down the 9-to-5 path at all when you were starting out?
So honestly, I didn't know that I had entrepreneurial traits until much further back, like post-college, basically. I always thought I was going to become a doctor or something like that. My parents really wanted me to go to med school. So I went through high school and college, trying to get good grades, doing the whole pre-med track, took a lot of science classes, math classes, whatever. And I applied to medical school, applied to like 20 different schools, didn't end up getting into any. And then after that, I was just like, I'm just going to start working for myself and actually trying to make money and live in LA by myself and see if I can do it. And yeah.
Wow. Amazing, man. So you took a big risk kind of early on, as soon as you realized that you weren't getting accepted to the colleges that you wanted to.
Yeah. And, my parents, they really wanted me to do the whole traditional path. They're from China. They came here when they were in their 20s. Yeah. So they wanted that like safety net. They wanted that like prestigious job for me. But I lied to myself for many, many years, saying like, okay, I can do that. Being a doctor is, a great paying job. It's stable. It's what they want. So I went down that path, even though truly like I can't imagine myself doing anything medical related. The thought of needles, blood, they scare shit out of me.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think I'm very fortunate that I didn't get into med school and actually tried pursuing my own stuff.
Yeah. How did your parents handle it when you said, "Hey, I'm moving to LA," and I'm not sure what you told them, or I'm not sure if you even told them, but I'm curious if there was like resistance in the beginning, or what the reaction were like.
So my senior year of college, I was doing a lot of graduation shoots. I'd been a photographer for many years. And I think during the last month of college, plus like a month after I graduated, I was doing a bunch of grad shoots. And I think I made about $10,000 in like cash, which was a lot for me at the time. And so I thought I was set. Like, I don't think I've ever felt richer than I did then. I went to Vegas. I bought a $50 watch. I was like, this is nothing. Like, I'm chilling. My parents were like, Charlie, you don't have a job lined up. What are you going to do? And I was like, guys, chill. I remember being at a restaurant with them, I think in Seattle for dinner. And I was just like, guys, I just made $9,000. Like, I'm chilling. Um, but obviously they were like, okay, but you're not doing any more grad shoots. Like, what are you going to do? So I was like, okay, that makes sense. I think, what did I do after that? I continued trying to do photo shoots for clients. I started doing tutoring. So I found my first clients on Craigslist. And that sort of actually gave me enough cash flow to survive for the next couple of years. Yeah, I tried getting my EMT license. Couldn't get hired as an EMT because I sucked. And yeah, I saw a lot of failures in those first 4 or 5 years of entrepreneurship.
Gotcha. This is a bit of a side question, but where did you move to LA from? So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in NorCal, in Northern California, in Palo Alto, which I think most people know now. And
Yes.
then I attended college in LA. So it was actually, I lived in LA for 9 years, and that's basically where my like entrepreneurial journey started.
Awesome, man. Got it. Got it. And so after you had your richest period ever, which was having like $10,000 as a high school senior, which I could,
Well, college senior. Yeah.
oh, college senior. Okay. Well, still justifiable. Like we're still
I thought it
living.
was, yeah.
Yeah. As any senior, I think that's just a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then you had those years of struggle. When was your next sort of business breakthrough when you had an experience of success?
So my photography and tutoring businesses, they weren't successful, but they were pretty good. That gave me the cash flow to get by, get an apartment, stuff like that. And I'm trying to think because all these years it was like a pretty big struggle. I was trying a lot of stuff. I did like print modeling in LA. I went to a lot of auditions. That was a huge time draw. I did mortgages, so I basically got my mortgage license to do loans. I got my real estate license to do real estate.
Okay.
And then I got my broker's license to open up my own brokerage. That was in like 2016 to 2019. In about 2016, 2015, I started my own clothing brand called Charge. It's like an athleisure brand. Poured like 20, 25K into it of my own money. Lost almost all of it, but superb learning lesson. Learned so much about marketing, building websites, sourcing, visiting suppliers in China, all that stuff. But yeah, my first, and I forgot another thing. I did Amazon FBA in like
Okay.
2016, 17. I think that was one of my first like real successes. So that did pretty well. I sold a bunch of random products,
Okay.
taught me a lot about the whole e-commerce game. And then while I was doing that, the real estate was pretty good. The loans, they were okay. And then that led me to opening up my own brokerage, trying to hire real estate agents under the company. I think we had like a team of maybe 8 people, but the company wasn't really making much money at all. And then in 2020, that's when I started going like more full time on YouTube.
Wow, man, there's a lot of different businesses in there. So
Yeah.
e-commerce, photography, mortgage brokerage, real estate.
So I'm probably missing like at least 3 or 4.
Right, right. So the question is more like, which business models have you not tried so
Right.
far? So interesting, man. Okay. And that's when you start seeing some success, and that's when you with e-commerce, and that's when you start your YouTube channel as well.
Yeah. My YouTube channel, actually, I started in 2008 doing music covers. So I would play piano, guitar, and I would produce like songs and covers with my sister and my friends that would sing. So that was like the phase one of YouTube for me for what, about like 9 years. 2017, 2018, I transitioned that channel into a finance business channel, sort of like where it is today.
Yeah.
I didn't post too consistently over the next few years, but in 2020, with the pandemic, I was stuck at home. I had a lot of free time, and I was like, people are searching a lot of things about stimulus stuff, side hustles, investing, all that stuff. So I just pretty much went ham on creating videos, and I did. I think in April of 2020, I think I put out about like 25 videos, long form videos. And then channel started growing, and then I just slowly like transitioned more into doing content rather than real estate loans and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, very interesting. So you had the e-com and real estate and YouTube channel running simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you, man, because I see entrepreneurs out there going about it basically two ways. One way is that you have this very specific vision, like I'm going to have a 1 million subscriber YouTube channel. I'm going to build everything on that. And then they just keep sort of carving their own way until they get there. Or people try so many different things and they see what sticks and just kind of surf the waves of how things come. I'm so curious, which one of these approaches did you use, or did you use a mix, or how did you approach it at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I was still trying to figure things out. I didn't know what my why was. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. So for me, I've always just been a generalist. I am super curious about everything. I like learning new skills, and so I wouldn't say I'm like amazing at one thing. Still applies to me today. My approach was to try a lot of things, learn from them. Not everything needs to succeed, and then take those lessons and just keep doing it. And I think like a path that most people will find, especially for people that are similar to me, is try a lot of stuff, and one of them is going to do well.
Yeah.
Once you figure what that is, then you can sort of focus more on that, build that business, make money from that business, and then you can start to expand from there.
Got you. Yeah, I think that's a great point. So if you were to travel back in time to younger Charlie, let's say Charlie that, just moved to LA after college, just about to try all these different ventures, knowing what you know today, what sort of advice would you give to your younger self?
Well, the first one I would give is that you need to find other people that want to be entrepreneurs too. I think the fact that I grew up in Palo Alto, everyone was studious, very academic. Everyone got great 9 to 5 jobs, right? And I thought that was very normal. I had pretty much zero network, zero entrepreneurial inspiration. So I think that set me back a good amount. I love my college friends, but in terms of like building a business and feeling like I had someone to bounce ideas off of, grow with, I didn't really have anyone like that. So I'd say find a group of people that also want to build their own business. That's going to make a huge, huge impact. And then also just know that like the traditional path, you don't need to do it. Your parents are probably going to influence you to try and do that because it makes sense. It's safer.
Yeah.
There's going to be less hardships, stuff like that. But if you actually don't think that's the right lifestyle for you, just know that there's so many people out there that are building businesses, that are living a little bit more non-traditionally, and just know that it's possible. That's what I would tell myself.
Absolutely. So surrounding yourself with more entrepreneurial
Yeah.
people has a really
Yeah.
big impact.
Basically, yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I didn't know what was possible back then. Uh,
Hmm.
like I really thought that being a doctor was as good of a life as you could get. But everyone's different. That's going to be the right life for some people. But for some people, it's a lot of people watching this probably, it's not going to be the right life. And you only have one life. So I think you have to take risks. You have to, pursue that path that's right for you.
For sure, for sure. I can really relate to that. I also come from a family where both of my parents were academics. I didn't even know what running a business. I didn't know what being an entrepreneur really even was. And I actually remember a moment in my early 20s where I had this click where I was like, oh, wait a minute. Everything around us was invented and like distributed and sold by an entrepreneur. And, the whole world is basically built by business, and that you can be one of those people that builds businesses and shapes the world in a positive way. I'm curious if you had, let's say, a role model or an example that you looked at, or just that sort of moment when it clicked for you, like, oh, I can be that entrepreneur myself.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I had more business owner role models growing up. Most of my family's friends, they were not business owners. They had jobs. We had one family friend that I worked for 1 summer as like a loan assistant. She's probably like the only business owner that we knew somewhat closely. Um, very successful loan business in the Bay Area. And yeah, I worked for her for about 2.5 months, and I saw how she ran her business. I'm not gonna lie and say like it really inspired me. Like at the time, I was still set on being a doctor and all that stuff, so I wasn't like trying to really pick or look at her business and be like, oh, I can do this too. But that's probably the first time I was like, okay, an entrepreneur can actually have a really sweet life, financially successful, lifestyle successful. And then after that, one of the reasons why I started making content is because I couldn't find that many people that looked like me that I could sort of relate to, share stuff like this. So one of my huge whys in life is to like educate and inspire people that were in a similar situation as me to chase after their entrepreneurial dreams. I think there are a lot of people just like that, with those aspirations, but they don't have the resources or the network or the friends, whatever, to push them down that road. So that's one of my big whys.
Love it, man. That's a very powerful why. And there's a powerful lesson in that as well. If you don't see a role model out there that you can relate to, just become one. Be the
Yeah.
first. Pioneer it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Look, I want to ask you about more specific operations related stuff, but I just have one last, a little bit more personal question. Did you have a moment, did you have a failure or rejection or, that business experience, that early business experience that was so painful that it actually had you considering giving up? Had you considered go back to a 9 to 5 or, just retreat from this whole entrepreneur ordeal?
I'd say my skin's decently tough. So there wasn't a time where I was like, oh, I'm screwed. I have to for sure get a job. I've always just had the mindset of, I'll figure it out. I think people that are scared of rejection, they just need to get rejected enough times. Modeling, for example, I would go to auditions with a room full of 100+ guys that look just like me and just get rejected over and over and over again. So I was used to it. And I guess that sort of relates to failing in business. But yeah, I've never thought of failure as an actual bad thing. The reason for that is because you're still coming out ahead with lessons, and everything that I do today is because of all those lessons I learned before, right? Like
Yeah.
tutoring taught me how to explain concepts to people in like a easy to understand way. At that time, I had no idea that tutoring would help me in the future, but it does.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things like that where I learned these lessons just from failing, and that's why I don't view failing as bad. That's why I actually pursue failing. I expect some of the things I do today to fail, and that's totally okay.
Yeah, but I think that sort of attitude is a bit like a superpower. If you're not afraid of failure, then you can just keep on learning infinitely.
Yeah,
That's what.
yeah,
Okay, so when it comes to your businesses, man, really where I want to start is how you juggle all of this because you run your YouTube channel, right? Which is it's like a media company by itself. Then you run 40 plus different niche YouTube channels. You run the recruiting agency pair.so as well. So like, how do you juggle all of these different things?
yeah. It's tough at some times. I remember when we were starting Paired, Jeff, my co-founder, and I, we were doing everything. We were vetting the candidates. Oh man, we were building out the systems, all that stuff. And during those days, before we had systems fully in place and team fully in place, it was a struggle. We would both work on our other businesses, mostly during the morning and day. And then at night, that's when we would focus just on Paired. The answer is going to depend on when you're asking me.
Sure.
Um, right now, it's a bit better because, like I said, we have systems and teams in place. So a lot of my time these days is spent brainstorming, delegating, um, basically thinking about new projects to start or implement, working with affiliates, brands, marketing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is definitely is, it can be quite challenging. And I think time blocking was a huge thing for me that allowed me to focus on one thing in the morning or afternoon, and then focus on something else later on. But the most important thing that allows me to work more when needed is being like passionate or excited about the
Mm.
things I'm working on.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So obviously there are those initial stages when you're in the trenches, you're doing everything yourself, you're doing like 12, 14-hour days. And if you have time for an Uber Eats, it's like a good day,
Yeah.
right? And then as you build systems, things become more automated. You also learn more. You build a team, things become easier. I'm curious in terms of that system building stage, what were some of your biggest lessons that allowed you to get here to this point?
Well, the first was realizing that not I'm not the best at everything.
Mm.
And for I think many, many years, I think I first started hiring people in 2021, I
Mm-hmm.
want to say. So just like 4 years ago, I thought that I had to do everything myself. I thought my video editing was better. I thought I could make a better website, whatever, right? Um, I read books that basically were like, you should not be doing those tasks. It's literally impossible if you want to keep growing to keep doing those tasks. So I started by hiring my first video editor, hired my first assistant, and sort of went on from there, knowing that you have to delegate, build
Yeah.
systems, and actually do it consistently so that you can scale your businesses. Learning about SOPs was really helpful, creating like Google Docs, or it can be a Loom video, whatever it is, outlining a specific procedure. And then you can train anyone or most people to do that task.
Yeah.
And that's crucial for scaling a business.
Absolutely, man. SOPs, and I think SOPs, basically the systems, are I think one part of it, and the other part is the people that you get into the business. So I'm curious if you have some, I don't know, hacks or tips, big lessons, insights that you picked up when it comes to hiring the right team member.
Yeah. Um, Hiring is super important. So my businesses, we have a very large portion that are overseas. I
Mhm.
truly think that hiring overseas is like it is such a cheat code,
Yeah.
especially for an American business or a business earning dollars or euros or whatever.
Yeah.
And I built out my media business with a lot of overseas talent. And my co-founder and I, we were like, damn, this is like it's crazy that more small businesses don't do this. I think a lot of people don't realize that all the big businesses they go heavy with overseas talent. You just don't really hear about them. A
Yeah.
lot of these small businesses that could really use a lower payroll so that they can invest more money into actually scaling faster. They don't hire overseas. So that's something I tell people like if you're not hiring overseas, then you're wasting money and you're slowing the growth of your company because when done right, it is like a superpower.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you picked up on that helps you identify like an A player candidate or
Yeah.
just someone?
So
Mhm.
I don't care too much about resumes. I'll look at a resume. It helps with like the initial stages of filtering. But when it comes down to actually picking someone that's right for the job, it doesn't matter too much. I think what's really important is their work ethic, their personality, how they fit into that job role, how they fit into the company, how they perform on an assessment, which is extremely important, how they answer questions in interviews, and just sort of like the overall vibe I get from them. I
Mm.
think it's like it's very hard to quantify exactly what makes someone great,
Yeah,
but you can do it. It just takes time and manpower and
for
knowing
sure.
what to look for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, one lesson I learned quite quickly in recruiting is when you're talking to someone, and let's say the candidate looks good on paper, but you have like a bad gut feeling, just like intuitively the vibe is off,
Yeah.
that's real.
Yeah.
Don't hire
That
that
for sure
person.
is real. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I think like AI is going to automate some parts of recruiting, but gut feeling, the human to human interaction, that's still going to be a major part of identifying the right people for a specific company and job.
For sure, for sure. Do you think that a lot of these roles that right now companies are slowly transitioning into hiring overseas, like VAs, bookkeepers, etc., with the rise of AI, do you think these positions could be replaced by AI agents? Maybe. Like, what do you think is the future of these sort of roles?
I think some stuff could, but there's always going to be a big human element in being a great team member.
Yeah.
I think that so for me, when I look to expand my team, I probably don't need to expand as fast anymore or hire as many people, just because the people that I do hire, we can have them be using AI tools. There's a lot of stuff that we can build out for EA assistant, whatever it is, PMs, whatever the job role, that makes them output more than what was possible before without these tools. So yeah, I think every business owner that hires, like, you should have a bunch of AI within your company. If you're not doing that, then your competition is. They're getting more efficient. They're going to get more lean, while maybe have to add on more people, or your team is being burnt out doing a lot of mundane tasks. As a business owner, your responsibility is to identify what things can be automated or more efficient, and then install those things within the company.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 It sounds like a human with some great AI tools can be more productive as a team member than an AI agent at the end.
Yeah. It could be way more productive than a domestic worker. I mean, one of the main drawbacks that I think, or things that people think overseas talent have, is bad English, right? Um, it's not true. There are so many countries with people with amazing English. And then, even if they did have bad English now with AI, the English doesn't matter as much. Communication is, of course, still important, but for output, especially for content, copy, a lot of that stuff, like, AI can make them very, very similar, if not better, than a domestic employee.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So I got another question for you when it comes to juggling all these different projects. How do you actually prioritize? Do you just, focus on one project for a set amount of time? Do you just say no to a bunch of different things? Do you just wing it? What's your approach?
Right now, I don't particularly time block. Like, I'm sort of bouncing between things in this phase of my life. I'd say that right now, I try to use my time in a way where it's stuff that's very hard to replicate or create systems for. I spend, like I said, a lot of my time just brainstorming, figuring out like marketing, figuring out tools that we can implement, building the team. So like high ROI tasks like that, those are the things that really drive the growth of any business. So yeah, I mean, if you want to quantify, you can sort of divide or look at how much do you think your time is worth, and then try and only do tasks that are at that level or above, and then try and hire amazing people to do the tasks that you shouldn't be doing.
Absolutely. Have you got a number that you put on your time right now? What's your figure?
It varies depending on my mood or day. Uh, so I can't give a set number, but definitely anything over or anything under, let's say, $100 per hour, I'm gonna try to hire out. Even things like, I've turned down things where I would make $1,000 an hour, $1,500 an hour, where it's more like consulting, just because I don't want to dilute my mental energy,
Yeah.
and I feel like stuff like that takes away from the energy I have to install or do those higher ROI things in my businesses, which eventually have a much higher ROI.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense, man. I think you can up your price. I think like a 10K hourly rate would be a good fit easily.
That'd be crazy. Yeah. But then, like, every task basically is under that. So that means
Yeah.
that I shouldn't even be wiping my butt when I use the bathroom.
Exactly. Cool, man. So yeah, I would love to talk a little bit about, productivity, habits. Yeah, what does like a typical day in the life of Charlie look like?
So I go through different phases. Right now, the first thing I do when I wake up, brush my teeth, drink water, bathroom, whatever, and then I will do red light therapy with about a 10 to 15-minute stretch and then ab workout. The reason I do this is because for many, many years, I'm 32 years now, or 32 years old now. Many years I did not stretch I did not work on my flexibility, and I only cared about like building muscle and stuff like that. Now I realize the importance of stretching if I want to continue working out until I'm dead.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I can like really just force myself to do it, because any other time I'm just gonna be like, I'll just do that later, or I don't want to stretch right now. So I force myself to do something like that in the morning. And then I usually will hit the gym, and then sauna after that. And then I get my day started with work. Every day is completely different depending on the tasks that I need to do.
Is there like an average hours per day or like a certain time period in the day where you work? Or is it just completely free flowing it?
Yeah. It's pretty much I'm on the whole day.
Okay.
So from, let's say I wake up at 6 a.m., right? I'm pretty much on the whole day because I'm thinking about work, but I'm not actually like doing work a lot of the time. So it's very hard to quantify the number of hours. But yeah, from let's say 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. until I sleep at, let's say, 10 p.m., I'm going to be like always sort of on.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Cool, man. And apart from like the red light therapy and the stretching, James sauna, obviously, are there any little like health habits or productivity habits that you found very useful
It
recently?
depends on the person, but I think time blocking is going to be very helpful for most people for most phases of their life. Setting aside maybe 1 to 2 hour blocks to do deep work is very, very good. I've done that before. I think reading is one of the best things you could possibly do, like ever. I think I can attribute a lot of, let's say, whatever, my success to the inspiration and info I got from reading books. And I hated books before. Like, I used to think that reading was not cool. Or I'd be like, oh, yeah, I haven't read a book in 3 years, right? I thought that was a cool thing to say, which is super dumb. But
Weird flex.
yeah, weird flex, super weird. I read a lot now. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and yeah, there's a lot of like empty time when most people are just not thinking about anything, when they could spend that doing active learning, right? Driving, swimming. Instead of listening to music all the time, listen to a podcast. That I almost exclusively listen to podcasts or audiobooks when I gym now. It's only when I do like running or high intensity stuff that's when I listen to music. Yeah, just spend time learning, getting inspired, and like building your brain up. I think that is such a big thing that a lot of people don't do. And the social media thing, I think too many people are stuck scrolling social media these days.
Yeah,
I think a very practical thing everyone can do that's watching this, if you're not doing it already, is sleep with your phone in a different room. Buy a $5 alarm clock or get whatever. Charge your phone in a different room. That way, when you wake up, you're forced to do your routine and don't touch your phone until you're done with it. Because I know in the past, I'll wake up, get on my phone like this, and then just scroll, and like I've scrolled for 1+ hours before. It's bad, and I think a lot of people do that, and it's crushing their dopamine system. It's giving them more like ADHD symptoms,
yeah,
and yeah, everyone should just do that.
exactly. Man, I couldn't agree more. Like, do you have ADHD or are you just checking your phone the first thing when you wake up in the morning?
I don't
Like,
think I have ADHD. I think only like 5% of people are like diagnosed and like actually have it, but I think more and more people have ADHD symptoms, and that's just because of social media. I just interviewed someone yesterday about this who does a lot of ADHD content, and he was saying like you have to do a dopamine detox,
for sure.
30-day detox where you basically remove everything that gives you fast dopamine, replace it with effort based dopamine, so stuff that actually requires some work. It's usually like delayed. So, for example, running. Running kind of sucks when you do it, but you feel great after. Ice baths suck when you do it, but you feel great after. There's a lot of these things that kind of suck, but they give you effort based dopamine after. So he was saying, like, get rid of the cheap dopamine, do those effort based dopamine tasks. And then after 30 days, you basically train your brain and your body to crave that effort based dopamine instead of the crappy dopamine.
Exactly. That was a rhetorical question, by the way. More like to the average person out there, like, "Hey, do you have ADHD, or is it just
Oh,
that you check your phone?" But your answer is super valid, nonetheless.
yeah.
Uh, I actually do this, so I put my phone on airplane mode and like put it basically out of reach
Oh, that's
uh,
cool.
before I do my evening routine. And a really good thing to do, also, I think, is to just make the routine easy. Like put a book in your in your environment as you wake up. Have the book ready there so you can read a little bit. Have a journal there. Have your Kindle there, because the first source of dopamine that you have in your day, that's what your brain is going to seek out throughout the rest of the day. So you absolutely set the mood with that. Yeah, I really love that advice, Matt.
Yeah,
It's
what you said about the setting things up so that's easy to do it, that's huge. I
yeah.
have the camera set up for filming. I don't like filming really, but the easier it is to just get started, the
Hmm.
more likely you're going to do it. Same thing with the red light. It's just like set up already. A lot of the things are just set up so that you don't need that initial like hump where it's
Yeah,
like, I don't want to do this or just do it later. It just makes it easier. Yeah, that's huge.
totally, man. So many people rely on willpower when really you can just take some time and set yourself up for
Yeah.
success. And there
Yeah.
you go. Awesome, Charlie. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing all of this, man. Was there a question that you wish I asked you, but I hadn't? Anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up?
I think there's some pretty like practical things I can share about like tools. I think maybe we can talk about some tools that I use if that's cool because I feel like that's something that everyone can just start
Hell
learning.
yeah. Let's do it. So, what are some of your go-to life-changing tools that you're using right now?
I love Slack, although I think Slack can be replaced with other stuff, but we're on there. So as long as you have some type of messaging based platform that's easy to use for your team, that's great. We run everything on ClickUp, so we use it for project and task management. I think it's a great tool. It's a little bit hard to learn compared to Notion. Notion's also fantastic, but I think the important part is using some type of tool like that to plan things and have like little tasks that you can track the progress of, right? I think a lot of people they try and just wing it or have a notebook or something or just use Notes app. After a while, it's not going to work. So having that is extremely important for content creation, which I think every entrepreneur should be doing. Every business should have a huge priority in their social marketing. There's tools like CapCut, Opus, Submagic. Um, Man, there's so many tools out there that just make content creation a lot easier, especially for short form. You can repurpose content just by using something like, let's say, Submagic or Opus. It will identify parts of your long video that could be short form and do well, and then automatically make that for you with captions, graphics, stuff like that. For anyone that's doing content, I'd say Frame.io is the standard when it comes to collaborating with your video editors on video projects. We, I probably have close to 10 Frame accounts, and it is fantastic. Basically, you can have video editors upload their draft. You can make comments on it in real time. It'll show the time code and all that stuff. So it makes collaboration way easier. Um, what else? LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn drives a lot of traffic and actual like conversions for paired. So I'll do maybe 3 to 5 different LinkedIn posts per week, adding value to our like clients or people that could use paired. And it takes some time to build up, but LinkedIn actually drives a good amount of leads for us. So I think everyone that's an entrepreneur watching this that has a business with some type of service or whatever, get on LinkedIn and just really focus on building out a team so that you can have like a organic media system going for you, driving leads. A lot of companies they die because they just can't acquire customers. They can't figure out ads. Ads are extremely expensive. I think the best way, still for most people, is just organic media and offering value to the type of person that would use your service or product, and then they'll come to you when they need it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What is your creative process like? Like, where do you start with the video form, written form? What was that? Obviously, I'm sure you repurposed some content, but what's that journey like?
I'd say for me, I don't really make too much entertaining stuff. I'm not an entertainer. I'm more of like I teach stuff. So I basically look at what can I teach the audience that relates. So for example, for paired, right? What can we teach them that people are searching up that are going to be looking to hire soon? So it's going to be things like how to hire a VA or top five platforms to manage your remote team, stuff like that. I apply this throughout my media business with all our channels. That's how I start with the ideas, the concepts, and then it basically makes its way through our whole like media video creation system that involves quite a few people, and then we have a final product, which is the final video. And even then, like you need a team to help you upload to YouTube, descriptions, thumbnails, titles. There's a lot of stuff when it comes to the media business. Um, yeah,
And that's where remote talent can come in and help you, right?
yeah,
Because you
yeah.
get your editors, your script writers, your social media managers.
It's a huge fit for overseas talent, and overseas talent can also be higher level roles like project managers, head of operations, whatever, even sales. And but like for creative stuff, that's a great place for a lot of people to start. You get a taste of just how amazing overseas talent can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if anybody got excited about the potential of hiring overseas, then that's exactly what we do at Paired Recruiting. You don't pay us unless we find your absolute dream candidate, and you can check us out at paired.so. Charlie, I really, really appreciate you jumping on and sharing all this value, man. And I look forward to the next one.
Thanks so much.